welcome to a Life in Digital Can Capture special. I'm here with Sara Vincent, UK Managing Director at Utiq. Sarah, it's great to see you again.
Very good to see you too.
I'm excited for this because I know it's the last time we spoke, it was a year on. And remind me, a year ago, how long had you been in the Utiq journey?
I started in January last year.
Yes.
So yes, it's now coming up to just about 18 months.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's the quickest 18 months in history. It's been a ride.
Yeah, I'm sure it has. So tell me, for yourself and for Utiq and Cannes, what's on the agenda this year?
Oh, cool. So Cannes, I think when I joined Utiq, Cannes became quite different to how it had been previously.
Yes.
So I was sort of back on the streets,
Yeah,
pounding up and down the Croisette.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it's really fun because you're just so much more. There's much more serendipitous opportunities to meet people.
Yes.
So that's what I love. The Cannes for us is meeting with our existing partners, obviously striking deals with new ones, publishers, agencies that we see here, and also just getting a bit of a vibe of what the industry is talking about. But I get really excited because every either panel or roundtable or event that happens, there's something that's said which just fires me up because I think Utiq can solve this, or Utiq has a part in this.
That's very cool.
Which is good. So it's not that, but it's like validating as well.
Yeah. How many of those things are angles you're already aware of versus we could lean into that?
Yeah. So probably mostly we're aware of.
Yeah.
But then it's other things that are like new topics of conversation where you think, where do we fit into this? And it's like there's always a place. So I think it kind of validates more about what we're doing.
Yes.
And we just know that there's a place for us to be the backbone of the industry, which is what we're trying to do.
Yes, yeah. So, since launch, I love hearing about it. For people who are listening who haven't heard of Utiq, could you give us a brief overview of what the business does and what problems you are solving?
Sure. So Utiq is a joint venture between the 4 largest telcos in Europe.
Yeah.
So that's Deutsche Telekom, Orange, Vodafone, and Telefonica. They have all come together to create this independent company called Utiq. And what we're doing is we are using the telco infrastructure, so the technology that telcos companies have, to identify individuals and moving that across into digital advertising as a way to bring addressability back to digital advertising. So it's cool because it's not like we're not reinventing anything. It's technology that already exists at huge scale in one industry that we can apply to another industry where we don't have that addressability at scale. And so it solves that problem of bringing a persistent ID to the industry, which, as I said, is almost like the bedrock of so many developments that are happening now in the industry.
Issues,
And addressability.
Yes, and a year on, has much changed on that journey? Where do you think you're at in terms of speaking to publishers, speaking to brands, and people understanding the concept?
Yeah, so we are live in Germany, France, and Spain.
Okay.
And we have been now for about a year and a half, and so those markets have been developing quite a lot. And the growth is quite impressive. Very excited that we announced just before Cannes that we are now at 55 million identifiers. And that's 55 million people across those 3 markets which have the Utiq ID. And that accounts for about 20% of that population.
It's
so you can see how already it's pretty big, but we're just getting started. So, but I think almost the bigger number for me is the 26 telcos that are now collaborating to help generate those IDs for us. It's no mean feat to work with a telco, and so there's a lot of time and effort that's gone into that, but it's the scale now which is unprecedented. There have been times telcos have tried to get into ad tech before and it's kind of not necessarily worked out the way everyone hoped, but this is there's so much momentum now, and I see that happening in Europe, and it's like this is going to happen now in the UK. So
must be so exciting to see that.
And it's all now, for the UK point of view, it's now all coming together. We are literally just turning on, and we were like, we need to kind of now turn those screws down, I think, and push forward with publishers and agencies and just get the cogs turning in the UK to replicate what we've done in Europe. So it's the next chapter for us now.
Yeah,
so very excited.
And you said you've been here since Saturday and experiencing Cannes and throwing yourself into it. What have you heard that surprised you? What's your vibe on what people are talking about this year?
Yeah, well, I think so. I guess the top line is that what's been interesting, what seems to be the hot topics, is all of the things that we thought they would be, and the things that we agree with and are trying to solve for. So there's a lot of talk about trust being the new currency. Now, I mean, that can take so many forms. That's user trust, as in putting the user first in the journey, and recognizing that we have to become a more trusted industry because we haven't been in the past. So how do we do that responsibly? How do we do that which is more streamlined for the user? That's one side. There's also brands, of course, that talk about trust is super important for them, and it's like the whole, there's some strategies of we will advertise everywhere and market to everyone, or we can really focus on knowing our audience better, building more addressability around that. We become more trusted, and like there's more buy-in, and we have like longevity in our customers. So trust seems to be across everything, actually. And I've heard that from legal people talking about where the privacy regulators are thinking about, like it's less about specific privacy, it's more about the consumer. And so that's an underpinning theme. I think also it feels like, and there's obviously some big news that's happened this year with the Google and how that business might well be broken up, but it's almost about how the control has been, like they've lost a bit of that control, which means that control is available for others to take.
It's so good for everyone else.
Yeah. So publishers have sitting on first party data, which is gold, and they actually now are in control and can be more masters of their own destiny. It's fantastic, brands the same. It's like we are, it feels like we're almost like the tectonic plates are moving. It's a new era, and there's so many other things adding into that, which is everyone is in that, seems to be in that kind of spirit, which I think is cool.
Yeah, that's the great thing about being in Cannes, the innovation, the excitement it brings. And you mentioned earlier about being on La Crusette last year and actually, being in a startup and going and having meetings. But one question that comes up, or you see on LinkedIn, is Cannes worthwhile from a business perspective? What's your take on that, from getting deals done and actually, moving the needle on company performance?
I think Cannes is definitely worth it, but there's ways of doing it. So, I mean, it depends on what stage you are in your journey as a business. But, I mean, for us, we don't have a location. We're here as a team, and we're kind of dividing and conquering. And we're seeing clients. We're running around the Croisette. So our return on investment is low, but we will be able to absolutely justify that.
Yes.
I think the meetings that you have, the planned meetings with existing customers, are great because whilst it's you can do those on a call if they're in the US other times, but there is so much to be said for the human connection and building that relationship. And I think it's much more about that side of it. Of course, you're talking about work, but I think for me, it's more important about building the relationship. Talk about what we want to do, and then the execution of all of that happens afterwards.
Yeah, for me, it's like anything in life. If you have the same conversation in the same place, it loses some dynamism. And if you want to have, build nurturing relationships, whether that's inside of work or outside of work, you change the setting and you go and have a conversation. And that's what really strikes me is the nature of the conversations are always so different because of the setting, the environment. So
yeah, exactly. I think people are a little bit more relaxed. I haven't said that. Everyone's schedules are
manic,
and everyone's like sweaty messes the whole time. But there's just a bit of rapport there, and then the other side of it is the serendipitous meetings that I said. So like I would talking to you, who introduced me to someone who then turns out to be probably our biggest client. And it's like that wouldn't have happened. Therefore, I don't think you can not be here.
Yes.
But you have to make it work for you.
Yes, you do, and I think knowing what your aims are and what you want to take from it, and how you play it as well, because it is full on. So I think taking care of actually yourself while you're here is important, so you can do it and feel fresh and have a great time.
Yeah.
And out of interest, will you have any time to hear about things outside of what's on Utiq's agenda? Are there panels you want to go to, or parts of Cannes you want to go and hear about?
Yeah, I've got a lot in the diary. Whether I actually make it. But I'm quite excited about the going to the Retail Media Summit tomorrow.
Yes.
That's really exciting. I mean, retail media is, it's talked about as obviously one of the fastest growing areas of the business. But there's so many, like retail media is one, a scenario where you have clients that have a lot of data, and it's like, how does that get monetized online and actually measured and tracked fully? Retailers are one, but there are many other instances of those scenarios. So if this gets cracked over here, that can then be applied to many other sectors of the market. So it's like it's learning what you're hearing on the ground, but also like how that can be applied elsewhere. So that's one thing I'm looking forward to. And then there's also, like as always, there's some amazing content around inclusion, diversity, and how important that is. And it's obviously it still remains the topic at the high up on the agenda, which is really important to have, making sure that that's amplified. So if I can, I'll try and get to some of that as well.
Yes.
To just sort of feel a bit more balanced.
Yes, but I mean, as from a female leadership point of view, it must be so great to see so many female leaders here representing as well. So it's really important.
Yeah, it's huge. It's awesome. There's like there's groups full of women, and everyone's really supportive. And it continues in that thread of, I always find networks are like unconditionally supportive of people, and so always there, whatever you need. It's you feel like you're in a part of the community.
Good stuff. Well, thank you for joining us, Sarah, and good luck for the rest of today and the rest
of the week.
Thanks very much.
Yes, thank you. Nice to see you.
As always.